Hello everybody, and today we've got our first look at the Tusk Force dev server. So we're going to start off by looking at a new American premium tank, the T-58, which is going to be coming to the American Tech Tree at Battle Rating 8.0, Rank 5. Now unfortunately this is a premium tank, or in fact it's a pack vehicle, so this is going to set you back £40 or your national currency equivalent. So yeah, this is quite an expensive tank to get, and it is unfortunate that it's a premium vehicle and not in the tech tree, because this would have been a rather interesting tank to have available for regular players. And one of the first things you might notice is the tank looks rather odd, at least around the turret, and that's because this is actually an oscillating design. So much like the French tanks, instead of the gun moving within the turret when you want to aim up or down, the entire turret sort of pivots with the gun, which gives it this rather unusual look. And then looking at the rest of the gun stats, it's reloaded by an autoloader, so it's got 3.8 second reload rate, and you've got 6 shells in this sort of revolver ammo rack at the back here. So you can get off quite a few shells in quite a short amount of time, and you can see you've got a depression of -8 and an elevation of +12, 12.6 degrees a second horizontal turning speed and 2.8 degrees in the vertical. And then looking at the ammunition types, you've only got 2, so you've got your heat shell, which has a pretty good performance, 406mm penetration, 826 meters a second muzzle velocity. But as you can see, the muzzle velocity is absolutely awful. It's only 259 meters a second, so long-range shooting with the HESH shell is going to be very difficult anyway. It's only really going to be useful for very close-in encounters, but you might find it useful in some situations where you might, in theory, use HE shells. And then on top of that, you've got your 50 cal on the roof, and for your coaxial position, you've got your 7.62mm machine gun. And then moving on to armour, well, starting off with the hull, which is the same one that would later be used for the M103 heavy tank. So this should perform fairly similarly to that, and it looks like it will decently protect you against most conventional shells. Heat shells will obviously go straight through that, which is just an unfortunate situation. And then moving on to the turret, it's in theory only 90mm, but because it is at quite a bit of an angle in quite a few places, that protection is a lot better than it actually looks like in pure thickness. So yeah, like around here, it's about 200mm effective thickness, going up to nearly 300mm for here. And then for the sides of the tank, you do have this cradle, which is an additional 90mm, which does provide some protection to the flanks of the tank. And there is this sort of weak spot here underneath the gun. In theory, you could depress the gun to cover that spot. That seems like a fairly drastic solution to fixing that problem. And the roof armour, unfortunately, well, it's 90mm for some areas. Other areas are only 25.4mm. And the engine deck is also not particularly well armoured. Then moving on to the crew, you've got 4 crews. So you've got your driver down here and then your 3 other crewmen up in the turret. The commander can also find a main armament, which is pretty good, and he's got optics with 10 times zoom, while the gunner's got 6 times to 7.5 times zoom. And then lastly, you've got your engine, so 810 horsepower for a top speed of 21.8 miles per hour going forward on 6 gears, but a reverse speed of only 4.2 miles per hour on 2 gears. So that could be a bit of a problem when trying to escape ambushes. And yeah, definitely not the fastest tank in the world at any rate. So we're going to quickly take this out for a test drive just to see how it performs. So here is the T-58, and I'll just show off the oscillating turret. So you can see there, by aiming the turret down, it's pivoted to cover that weak spot, and then by aiming upwards, the entire turret pivots again and creates an even bigger weak spot. But yeah, you can see basically how the oscillating turret works. I'm going to test out the heat shell and show the autoloader in action. So you can see we're almost ready for our next shell already. And we've now switched to the HESH shell, and you can see from the range indicators this is going to be a lot harder to actually aim compared to the heat shell. And you can also see now the HESH shell is not necessarily performing the best compared to the heat shell. I mean, that's quite a few direct hits there. Yeah. Yeah, you can see why some people don't necessarily like the HESH shell very much. I'll take a quick shot at that T-54 with this. And then going back to the heat shell, yeah, it's just far easier to aim with that, to be honest. Now, here's the driver's view, and we're just going to drive forward just to see how it performs mobility wise. You can see it's not the fastest tank in the world. We've nearly reached our top speed already, and we've not even reached the bridge yet. Oh, still going. And braking. Brakes pretty quickly, and you can see the reverse speed is not the best in the world. And show off a full turret traverse, or at least a half turret traverse. Not the fastest turning in the world, but not the worst either. I mean, it's not like a Panther tank or M10. They're really not very fast turning tanks, turret-wise. And you can see it's taken all that time for our next shell to be loaded into the ammo rack. And so, yeah, this does seem like it's going to perform decently well, at least offensively. It is a bit on the slow side, and against heat shell, that armour is not going to do very well. Against sort of more conventional shells, it will do decently enough, I would think. The flanks might be a bit vulnerable, but from the front, it should be decently well protected from more conventional shells. And so that is the T-58. And, yeah, unfortunately, it is a pack vehicle, like I said, and I could see this being quite a popular vehicle. I could see a lot of people buying it just because of the sheer novelty of the oscillating turret, and it does have that very good quick-firing gun, or quick reloading gun, and of course you do have a pretty effective heat shell, and a HESH shell which might be useful on occasion, but again, I don't think that's going to be used all that much. Won't be buying it myself, but I understand that a lot of people probably are going to buy this. And yeah, it's just a shame that it's not going to be in the regular tech tree. Anyway, that was just a quick video looking at the T-58. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I've been Tyranno, and I'll see you next time.